Hello, everybody. This is Kody Bateman. Welcome to a very special edition of our relationship marketing podcast. Super excited about our guest that we have on today. Before we introduce her, I'd just like to shout out to all of our listeners, which is growing week by week. And we just want to thank you for your commitment, your desire to sharpen your saws, to become better people, and to touch the lives of others. Realize the importance of human connection, creating relationships in life, realizing that relationships are far more important than marketing. This is a show about relationship marketing, but the show is about the first word, relationship, way more than the second. And you're a whole bunch of people that are committed to that. And I just want to know how much I appreciate you being a part of this and us being able to share that we're all in this game called life together. And speaking of games, we have a guest on today that is one of the best in her field, one of the best of all time in the game of basketball. We have the one and only Nancy Lieberman on with us today. Nancy, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so excited to have you today. Now, our listeners heard your bio prior to this show. So they've already heard the whole story of who you are and a lot of the things, your accomplishments over your career, which, my goodness, our pre-show probably took forever today because there's just so much that you've done. And it's just such an honor to have you on here. I mean, the first thing, in fact, we were talking in the pre-show, the first thing that I kind of want to throw out is there's one word that you would like to be known as, but that one word you are known as. I mean, you're known as the fearless woman. You know, you're fearless. You're pretty much fearless in everything that you do, and it shows. And I want to start there. I want to start, you know, and again, our listeners know who you are because they heard the pre-show. So let's talk about this concept of being fearless and how is that played? Like, when did that start in your life? I hear the stories about you on the childhood playgrounds playing basketball. Is that when the whole fearless thing started? I mean, how did that all get going in your life?
Well, I think the fearless thing started probably, when I was 7, 8 years old. And, my family was going through a pretty ugly divorce. And I got tired of watching my mom and dad fight. And I would keep my little coat right by the railing by the front door. And the minute they started fighting, I'd grab it, go to the park, and just started playing football, baseball, basketball with the boys in the park. And it just brought me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. And I realized that I had to be tough. I couldn't just, be a little girl that gets knocked around and starts crying and, I walk home. So I had to make sure that I was, physically, mentally, emotionally ready to play that game. So if they said, okay, we'll take the girl, one, it was like saying that you love me and you cared about me, things that I was not hearing in my home that age. And it also made me feel good about myself, that you wanted me to be a part of your team. So maybe at that age, I had a need to be needed because we all, love is love. And it's a very important element. You talk about it quite a bit, and connecting with people. And I connected through sports. So then I heard the best players in the world played at the famous Rucker Park in Harlem. So I was about 11, 12 years old. I took some money in my mom's wallet, and I told her that I was going to go play at the park. So she thought it was the park across the street from where we lived in Queens. But I took the A train from Far Rockaway, changed trains in Manhattan, then took the E train, and got off on 155th and Malcolm X Boulevard and walked into Rucker Park. And these guys, like little flaming red hair, little skinny kid, and who happens to be a girl. And I was like, I want to play. And they were like, are you lost? I said, no, are you? Now I'm giving you my New York accent because I had to pay $2,000 for elocution school back in the 80s with ESPN because they said they couldn't understand what I was saying. So I used to talk like this, like, Kody, how you doing, man? Like, everything's okay? Like, I want to play ball. And then, like, I need some send out cards and stuff from my friend. It was crazy. So this guy,
Wow.
so this
Yeah.
guy looks at me and he goes, are you sure you're not lost? And I said, no. Is your name Rucker? And he goes, no. I said, good. It ain't your park. And I want to play.
And
And
you
they
were
nick,
11 or 12?
yeah, and they nicknamed me Fire because I was like a little pistol. And the guys protected me. It was a really cool thing. And I found out solutions. It didn't matter how big, strong, athletic you were. You didn't play in the first game if you didn't make your foul shot. So I went home and like mastered making foul shots so I could play in the first game at Rucker Park. So,
So the
everything
way,
was
yeah, so they would line up and whoever made the foul shots first was on a team, right?
yes, first five to make theirs.
First five to make, yeah, we used to do that when we were kids too. And yeah, okay, so you mastered the foul shot, so you were on the teams. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to listen to these stories. That's at the age of 11 and 12, and you're going to Harlem and doing that. I mean, that alone is walking through fear. At the time, if you can remember back then, 11, 12, no question about it, everybody listening to that is, man, this 12-year-old Nancy Lieberman walked through some fear to go to Harlem. Were you afraid then?
No,
So you weren't even afraid.
no, but see, that's the thing and I tell people even today, I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid. And that's what the outside world looks at. Oh my gosh, a little white girl going into Harlem with a bunch of black guys, African Americans. No, those are your fears. They're not my fears. And you don't get to push your fears on me. It's the same thing like in working. Oh my gosh, what happens if I don't make enough money or I don't sell enough cards? And no, those are your fears. They're not my fears. And I don't want you to push that on me. So I think the mind is so important in how we view ourselves
So
and what we do.
how do you teach people that? I mean, fear is a big thing. Like fear is one of the biggest, probably is the biggest thing that stops people from even pursuing their potential, let alone living it. So how do you, like, it seems like when we listen to you, you like just naturally didn't have fear in your life. You just chose fear's not part of my life. I'm not going to be afraid of anything. And you didn't. Man, I got to tell you, that's hard to teach people. How do you teach people to be fearless?
Well, confidence is a part of that. So when I'm a big fan of repetition, when you do things over and over and over and over and over again, that becomes a habit. And then that habit becomes who you are. And you're going to get better each and every day. So in my mind, I had to be better tomorrow than I was today. I had to run a little harder. I had to shoot a little better. I had to do, even if it was little things. So like for me, it was master the things that take no talent. It doesn't take talent to get on a train and go to Harlem. It doesn't take talent to say, I want to play. You're not a mind reader. And I have to tell you what I want. And if people would do that in relationships, right? In life, in love, in business, in family, I mean, it would just be so much easier if we would just tell each other what we need and what we want. And so, I also had the benefit of hearing at 10 years old, Muhammad Ali, and Ali said he was the greatest of all times. And after that, I was like, I want to be the greatest of all times, which meant to me that I had to make sacrifice. I mean, I wasn't smoking and drinking and doing drugs and going to parties and staying out all night. For me to be the greatest of all time, there has to be a sacrifice in that road that we call a journey. And I was willing to make the sacrifice because I didn't know what the rewards would be. Because, I mean, look, I'm a girl from the 60s and 70s. There was no Title IX. There was no gender equity. There was no scholarships for women. There were no WNBA. My role models and heroes were young African-American men who I aspired to be like. But it was okay because I needed them to take me to different levels. And even at that time, I didn't know them. I think anybody can do it in business or in life. It's how you departmentalize, right? The only difference
Yeah.
between a good day and a bad day is your attitude and your belief.
Wow. And
And
you
my
were doing
attitude,
it. Yeah, you were
yeah,
doing that from a very early age. Now you were friends with Muhammad Ali. You became very close to Muhammad Ali. Is that right?
yes. Like I said, fell in love at 10, and by the grace of God, going into my senior year at Old Dominion, December of '79. I was asked to do an appearance in New York at the New York Stock Exchange. It was a fundraiser for the Olympic Committee. And I was feeling pretty good about myself right then. Going back to New York with my mom, my best friend Barbara, and now being asked to do these appearances, for the Olympic Committee. So as I'm going up the escalator with the gentleman from the stock exchange, I said, who's the other athlete? And he kept saying, well, we're going in the green room right now. I said, who's the other athlete? And he goes, oh, yeah, it's Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
And I couldn't breathe.
Wow.
It was when that door opened, it was like Oprah's,
Yeah.
and there he was, the man in front of me that changed my life. And my mother goes over to him and says, Mr. Muhammad, my name is Nancy Lieberman from Queens. And my daughter is the greatest of all times. And he goes, no, there's only one greatest of all time, and it's me. And he looks at her and goes, but Mr. Muhammad, I know you're good, but my daughter's the greatest. So he calls me over, and I'll show you when we meet the picture. And he's laughing, and I'm like hyperventilating. And he says, your mom says you're good. And I'm like, no, Mr. Muhammad, I'm not good. I'm the greatest of all times.
That's awesome.
And he hugged me and he goes, there's two of us? I'm like, yeah, there's two of us. And I hit people too. He goes, I'm going to ask you to stop hitting people. I said, you hit people. He says, I get paid to hit people. Stop hitting people. And I said, Muhammad, they make fun of me. They tell me that I'm stupid and dumb, that I'm never going to make anything of myself, that I'm a failure. And it hurts my feelings and I don't know what to do. He goes, I'm going to help you, but you cannot hit people anymore. You must get conflict resolution. I was like, okay. So good person, right? Respect everybody, but fear nobody. He told me that at 19 years old.
Wow. Isn't that something? Just incredible. And you stayed in touch with him over the years, right? I mean, you became very close with him, and he ended up being a great mentor for you for many, many years. I'm like millions and millions of other people, a fan from a distance of Muhammad Ali. And in our seminars, I actually do a story about Muhammad Ali and talking about him being the greatest. And what's interesting is that anywhere I speak in the world, no matter where it is, anywhere in the world, I will say a statement. I'll say, now I'm going to say this statement and I'm going to have you, the audience, tell me who said it. And it doesn't matter anywhere in the world you're at. I'll say, I am the greatest, and everybody yells out Muhammad Ali. So then I go on to tell the story about how Muhammad Ali was a master at putting the right stories in his mind. He knew who he was before anybody else knew who he was. And he was fearless enough to believe it. And he was the greatest. And he knew that. And of course, he ended up becoming one of the greatest. He was one, you were the other, but right. So, and we talk a lot about it. So tell me a little bit about, we call them I am statements. I teach this a lot in our personal development courses. I am statements. They're affirmations, but we call them I am statements, where you state things that you desire, starting with the words I am. In fact, just the other day, I started teaching an I am blueprint workshop online, where I take people through how to get the right language in their life, get their I am statements in their life. tell me, is that part of what you do? I mean, is that a big part of your life, or, just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, if you asked me to fill that blank in, I am deaf. I don't listen to people
Wow.
who, and I tell this story. I'm sure I'll reiterate it when I'm with everybody live. But it's like you take these three glass containers, and there's three frogs, and the one frog is trying to jump out of the plastic, glass container, and there's somebody on top going, "You can't do it. You're not good enough. You'll never make it out of here. You don't have what it takes. You stink. You're a loser. You're not going to accomplish your goals." And the frog is jumping and jumping. He jumps like 100 times, and finally he dies because he's given all he has. In the second glass, another frog is in there, and the frog is jumping, and this bully, as we know in our world, there's bullies and negative people. You suck. You can't do this. You'll never do it. Your friend is dead. You're going to be dead just like your friend. Nothing you can do will ever make you successful at anything. And this poor frog is jumping and trying to get out of this glass bowl, and he's jumping about 100 times. He dies. Now they get to the last one, and there's that last frog, and this same horrible, evil person is going, "You see what happened to your friends? They're dead. You're going to be just like your friends. You're never going to do it." And he's coming after them with all this. And finally, that last frog is jumping, 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 and he jumps out of the glass. And the guy goes, "This is crazy. How did you do this?" The frog was deaf.
Wow.
He
Wow.
didn't let you get into his head of what he couldn't do. And I say this too, for my whole life, with the people who said I'd never make anything of myself, that, "What's wrong, Ms. Lieberman, your daughter, she needs psychiatric care. Why is she in the schoolyard hanging out with Black people? And does she think she's a boy? She's a tomboy." It hurt my feelings. It really hurt me because people bullied me. But, the most important thing for me is that you have to see it, say it, to be it. I had to see myself being successful or making that Olympic team in high school. And every day I would see myself in that USA jersey at 14, 15 years old. And every day I'd stand in front of the mirror going, "I'm going to make the Olympic team."
Okay, so let's talk about that. When you made the Olympic team, how old were you?
1975, I was a junior in high school. I was 16 years old, going to be 17, when we won the gold medal at the Pan American Games. And I was 17, a senior in high school, when we won the gold medal,
Wow.
The silver medal in Montreal.
So most of your teammates on that gold medal team, they were older than you? They were college players?
Or beyond. I mean, they were probably 6 or 7 years older than me. Pat Summitt was my teammate.
Wow.
On the 75 Pan Am and 76 Olympics. She was really hard on me, but I think she knew, she was probably mentoring me as she was, weaning out of her playing career.
Okay, so now you're in the public eye now. I mean, you're this young lady, you're the youngest member of the Olympic women's basketball team. It was the first first women's team in the Olympics, right? The first time they had the women's team in the Olympics.
Yes, in basketball.
So now you're in the public eye. You're the youngest player on the team. You were in the beginning stages in the limelight of a very illustrious career that followed. But in the early stages of your career, you're in the big league limelight, and you had to have had critics, right? I mean, not just team members, but media and different things. I'm sure that anytime anybody's accomplishing anything, they're going to have critics. So I'm sure you had critics. Were you always deaf to the critics?
You have to be. You can't allow them to create what I call mind monsters.
So how would you do it? How would you ignore it or do that? Especially today, social media, everybody's got an opinion about everything, and it's usually not a very good one. And so how do you stay deaf? How do you avoid? Because you listen, you and I both know, and many of our listeners, the more you accomplish, the more critics you will have. And even today, which is mind-boggling to me because your amazing contribution to society and all the things you do and the incredible example you are, even to this day, you still have critics. And it's just the world that we live in. Um, yeah, so especially with social media, and it's real important for our listeners to hear this. How do you avoid how do you be deaf to that? How do you avoid all of that that's around you and stay fearless and focused on what you're doing?
Well, I think it's a very good question. But the thing is, who are you going to put yourself around? I mean, if you are going to follow people on social media who are nasty and evil, and they hide behind social media. It's unbelievable the people that get on this that have something to say, but they don't really say anything, but they hide behind that. And you have to be mentally strong, and you have to believe in yourself. And those are the things that I learned early. I'll give you an example. The greatest love of all. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is inside of me. I would say to anybody listening, watching, you have to love you. If you don't love you, why should I love you? And it has to come from within. Ali knew I was broken. He knew I was fraudulent as a kid because of all the damage that I had gone through in my childhood. And I was hiding behind the success of being Nancy Lieberman, Olympian, or a back-to-back national champion at Old Dominion. I could hide behind that, but he knew that I was broken, and he knew that he needed to be in my life to help me through those moments. And he taught me how to love myself and how to believe in myself as a person, as a human being. And a lot of that is just how we get up and what we do each and every day. I know that the rules of engagement for me, when I leave my home, I'm fair game to whoever. It could be on the road, it could be in a supermarket, and I choose to be nice to people. It's okay. You can say whatever you want about me. You're entitled to your opinion, and then I get to have a decision if I want to be a part of your decision or not.
Right.
And I can walk away from that. Sometimes you have to cut bait from friends who are, you guys know this. You have the friends who call you and tell you how great it is and what a great day, and I did this, and send out cards, and we made somebody happy and it changed their life. And then there's these negative people that are in your life, and you're going to have to make some decisions. Like, if you want negative people in your life, I'm okay with it, because apparently you still need more pain. And if you want more pain, go ahead. I have chosen to narrow down my group of people that I want to be with in my inner circle. It's like, if there's a concentric circle of who I am, that's the black dot, right? The dartboard. So the black dot is, I'm a basketball player. And then I'm a coach. Then I'm a mom. Then I'm a public person. Then I do TV. Then I do speaking. Then I'm an endorser and a philanthropist, and boom. But if things go nuts, I am the basketball player. And you have to be careful, because there's so many people that are so negative, and they wear the heck out of you. I mean, I don't have much tolerance for that. I have empathy for people, and I have love for people. But if you have the same problem in 1975 and it's the same problem in 2019, it's your fault.
Yeah. Wow.
And you have to make some changes and check your motives. Like, I wake up in the morning, and it's a joke in my house. Like, when TJ was little, he'd open my eyes and he'd go, "Are you awake?" And I was like, if you would take your hands off my eyelids, I would be sleeping. So we called it, he would open my shades in the morning. When my eyes open and I can take a breath, and the first thing I think about is, thank you, God. What can I do today to make somebody's life better? It could be a smile, because my smile makes you smile. It could be a pat. It could be a high five. It could be, hey, way to go today. You did a really great job. Just be a positive force in
Yeah,
people's lives.
that's
And,
powerful.
and if you pour love and kindness, then when I have to say to DeMarcus Cousins or Rondo or Rudy Gay or Troy Maggette, hey, that's not what we were doing. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to execute it. I need you to be disciplined. Now they're not going to give me this
Yeah.
or the hand, because I've poured enough into them that they respect. And when I have to be critical, I can do it in a way that's not demeaning. I'm not saying, you're horrible, we're cutting you, but that's not going to work for me.
Well, that's what's interesting to watch your career and how there's so many barriers that you have broken down. I mean, basketball and sports in general, whatever, let's face it, over a lot of the years, it's a man's game, it's been a man's game. You've broken so many barriers with that. You've coached men's basketball teams. You've coached at the NBA, for crying out loud. You've coached at the highest level. You're right now a coach of the big three, which are some of these top recently retired NBA players.
Yes.
And let me tell you, everybody that I've talked to that knows you, they're kind of like, listen, Nancy, she don't mess around, man. This woman is in charge, and here you are coaching guys that are 7 feet tall, and you take control. And I mean, how is that ever intimidating to you? I mean, you're out there, I've watched video of you out on the court with these top NBA players, and you're coaching them, and you're literally teaching fundamentals that, that they thought they knew for years and years. You're teaching them a different method of it. Man, that takes some confidence. That takes some major confidence. I mean, how do you do that?
I do my job. I'm firm but fair. I make sure that I'm 100% prepared, because I have to earn their respect and they have to earn mine too. But as a coach, it's their world. You said it, it's a man's world. And I have to make sure that I'm ready to do my job when I get the opportunity to have my job. And I work really hard. We talked about the preparation and the culture and the themes of what we want to project as a basketball team. Like when we won the championship last year, some of these, all my players, by the way, are multimillionaires. They played, 8, 10, 12, 15 years in the NBA. Some of them have made, 80, 90, $100 million. But the one thing that some of them didn't have was a championship ring. And so not only did we want to teach winning as a culture, but how to get there to be successful. Because, in the NFL, you asked me before we went on about, my book, Playbook for Success.
Mm-hmm.
So in the NFL, when you come on the team in preseason, every guy, same with the NBA and Major League Baseball, you get a playbook. And it tells you, it's the roadmap of what it is that this franchise stands for. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And then these will be the results. And I'm more of a minimalist. So that's how I kind of work with people. This is how, this is why, this is how we're going to be, as I just said, successful. We talk them through it. And so the culture. Culture is really, really important. At send out cards at McCabe Avenue Foundation and Nancy Lieberman Charities with my son. Culture will define who you are and what you represent. And you want it to be the thumbprint of your mission. And that's what we do. And so as a leader, you're supposed to give purpose, and you're supposed to give a plan for how, a playbook for how they're going to be successful. So you get to the end, and this is, in my world, this is the dreaded somebody knocks on your door in training camp and assistant coach goes, coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook. That means give us the answers to our quiz back. Give us the road to champion, to be hopefully a champion like with the New England Patriots. Coach wants the playbook back. You don't want to be the guy or the gal that gives the playbook. But so some of it is, we have a saying, don't be the guy. And then don't be the guy anywhere near the guy. You know what that means? Don't be the guy who's screwing up my team. And don't be the guy next to the guy who's screwing up my team. Because I'll get rid of both of you.
Wow.
And it's the same in business. Don't be that person who's always complaining and always bitching and complaining and negative and suck. You know, we call them energy vampires.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around energy vampires in business, in philanthropy, in coaching, or playing. You want people to infuse energy into you, not suck the life out of you.
Right.
Where, you know, you sit there, man, I don't even want to be in the locker room with this guy. I don't even want to be at the national convention with this person, because they're always complaining.
Right.
Hey, if that's you, stop it.
Stop doing it. Yeah, exactly.
Stop it.
So Nancy, I want to get to, we're going to close the show talking about the charity that you and I are working on together. It's your charity, but we're going to close the show with that, because I think it's a real important thing in just the incredible work that you're doing, and you're gracious enough to allow my charity to become a part of yours. I want to thank you for that. But we'll end the show with that. But before we go there, I want to touch on one more thing. You just went through one of your greatest life accomplishments. I think it was just last week.
Boy, I'm already turning red.
Like, this is, for our listeners, my goodness, this is major. Like, this is a major deal. You were just inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame. Like, I get the chills even saying the words. First of all, I want to congratulate you on behalf of my family and everybody that's listening. We all want to congratulate you. Very well deserved. The things that you've done for the game of basketball, the mentor that you are to so many people. We just want to congratulate you for a very well deserved spot in the Hall of Fame. What was that like? What was it like to be inducted to the Hall of Fame?
It's anytime anybody says that they think highly of you to be in that Hall of Fame. We're talking about Will Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, you know, the greats of the greats, my heroes who I watched growing up. And to think that you're looked at as their equal is a little mind-blowing, to be quite honest. It's very humbling, you know, to be with Alonzo Mourning and Charles Barkley and so many other great athletes. And the beauty is that the men, they don't look down at you as a female. They look at you like you're one of them. Somebody told me when I was in Springfield last week that there's 250 million people who have played basketball at some significant level, maybe AAU, high school, things like that. Not just playing in the park. 250 million that have played this game. And there's just a little over 400 in the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass.
Wow.
Where Dr. James Naismith invented the game. And it's an honor. It's humbling. And when the game says thank you to you, when I really owe the game everything. And I do want to segue to something. Nancy Lieberman Charities is your charity. It's not my charity. It's yours. It's for everyone in this family, with the McCabe Avenue Foundation, with Send Out Cards. We're the ones who were blown away and humbled that you would want to be a partner with us and be a super team to just help change children's lives and to bring law enforcement back into a positive way with community children and community leaders. you know, that's going to be the thumbprint of who we are. And for everybody that is coming together with us on Dream Courts, and, you know, we've sent 55 high school seniors to college. And we have 2 graduating classes now. I mean, I would never have gone to college without a college scholarship. There's so many things, the Dream Courts, we have 84 open, and we have over 3.6 million children utilizing courts, keeping them out of the mental health space, making friends with people that don't look like you, building their confidence and self-esteem, and then bring law enforcement on the court with the kids so they can get to know organically that this man or woman in a blue uniform is not a bad person. They're here to protect you. We're just trying to be faithful and to be great servant leaders. And I'm honored.
Well,
I'm honored to be a part of your belief system.
Thank you, Nancy. I want to share with our audience a little bit about all of that. You know, we at Send Out Cards, which is one of my companies, we have the McCabe Avenue Foundation. It's named after McCabe Avenue, which is an inner city street in Baltimore, Maryland, which is a place that I used to live when I was 20 years old. I was the only white kid in an all-black neighborhood. I remember walking down on McCabe Avenue for the first time, and most people didn't accept me except for one young man. His name was Tony Watson, who took me in as a friend. And and that was a long time ago. That was 35 plus years ago, and I lost track of Tony over the years. But you know, he taught me so much about life, and the people in that neighborhood taught me so much about life, and it really defined a lot of who I am today. So I got to tell you, here's what made me want to. We started the McCabe Foundation here 35 years later, and the whole idea behind the McCabe Foundation was we want to give back to the kids on the inner city streets. When I lived there when I was 20 years old, you know, I got to know a lot of families and a lot of kids, and there's so much talent. Oh my goodness, there is so much talent on these streets, these kids growing up, and a lot of them never have the opportunity to shine with that talent. You know, they don't get the educational opportunities or the chance to be in positive environments. So McCabe Avenue Foundation is all about creating that environment, you know, taking good education back to these streets, back to these inner cities. When I heard about your foundation and you and I spoke for the first time, here's what got me. This is when I instantly decided we just need to merge what we're doing. Is when I heard the story about you, the white girl, going to Harlem to play basketball. That's what got me. We were on the phone. I remember my wife was shopping at Nordstrom's here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I was on the phone with you over in a corner on a bench, and what was supposed to be a 30-minute call was about an hour and 15 minutes, if I remember. But when you told me that story, I was like, I don't know how it's all going to work, but my story of McCabe and your story of Harlem, somehow we got to work together, and now we're doing that. And so you have the Nancy Lieberman Charities Foundation, incredible stuff that you're doing, taking your love of basketball as one of the tools and building these courts all over the country, a lot of in these inner city places. It's just an amazing work that you're doing. And I'm like, rather than reinvent the wheel, let's just work with you. And let me tell you, we are honored. When I say we're talking thousands of people involved with Send Out Cards who are really behind the McCabe Avenue Foundation cause. They're really behind it. And now they're really behind you and what you're doing because we're doing it together. So, man, I just got one thing I do want to ask for our listeners. How did you start all that? What compelled you to start the Nancy Lieberman Foundation? Like, what got that going?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because when I got to Dallas in 1980 in the first women's professional league, and I started, you know, to make some money, and what I used to do, and I don't describe this to a lot of people, but people would ask me to do speeches or appearances. So I'd get, $1,000 here or 500 or whatever it was they were paying me. And I would go into South Dallas with a black bag, a little gym bag, and in it at any time I could have $20,000 to $30,000 cash. And I would do a free clinic at the rec center. Then I'd knock on doors and say, can I buy food for your house? Do your kids have shoes? Do you need, like, there were some notices, eviction notices. And I wouldn't give the money right to the people. I would go with them to pay their bills, or I'd go shopping with them. And then one African-American lady says, you're going to get jumped. And I said, okay, well, here's how it is. I might get jumped and you might steal the money. I'm not coming back. So the choice is yours. Either you protect me or you get the community protect me, because I'm coming here on my free will and wanting to help you because I understand what it's like to live this life, because that was my life. I said, so why don't you get in touch with me and tell me what you want? Either I'm going to get jumped and never come back, or you're going to protect me, love me, and I'll be back to help. We became thicker than thieves, and that was where I started. I was not a 501c3 until 2008, and then we became that. And so many people have been so good to help us build it and build out our programs. A day at the office, well, we had one yesterday, where we do this 4 times a year. We bus kids in from the ISDs. Every kid gets an iPad. They get business cards with their name, their email, and their phone number on it. It's a networking thing. This is right up your alley. We've got to do this in Salt Lake with you guys and have everybody come to the office. We feed the kids. We give them a little swag. And then we become part of their network when they're ready to graduate. They can intern. We can help them write resumes. We can just be great partners to these children who would never have access and proximity to us. And we've just exponentially just opened up that concentric circle of, they're not just crabs in a barrel anymore. They're getting out of the barrel. They're the frog who is deaf. And now we get to help them. And so we did that. A lady said to me one day, well, I don't understand why you would do backpacks. So it was a rich lady. It's okay. And I said to her, it's okay. To be honest, we do the backpacks with a year's worth of school supplies. And I said, I didn't think you'd understand. I go, what is that? Hermes? She goes, it's Hermes. So I'm a little bit of a smart aleck. I'm just being upfront with everybody. I'll do it to you, but I'll be self-deprecating. And she goes, and she's looking down her nose at me. And I turn around and I'm like, okay, so there was this little girl, and she would go to school every day, and she'd take a brown paper lunch bag, for sandwiches, and put her pens in there. And then she'd take a brown paper garbage bag, and she'd put her books in there and take her belt and tie it up and go to school. And people would make fun of her because she didn't have anything. So the little girl who was 8, 9, 10 years old would, bam, she'd hit these kids and beat them up. And the lady went, this little girl would beat people up? And I said, yeah, I got tired of people making fun of me because I didn't have a backpack.
Wow.
She was bawling and wrote me a check for $25,000 right there. I said, it hurt my feelings. I would put cardboard in my sneakers, and I'd never put my feet up because I didn't want people to see that I had holes in my shoes. So I know what Kody, I know what these kids feel like. So if they have a nice backpack, they feel good about themselves. We give iPads. We've given almost 2,000 iPads. The kids in college, we stay with them. We don't just give them $10,000 and say, see ya. We stay in touch. They have to call me. They have to tell me how school's going. They have to tell me, did they break up with their girlfriend? What's going on? And then we network them again to internships. We help them write resumes, and we network them to job interviews. So we're not perfect. We can't cure cancer or a disease, but we're generation now, and we can affect generation next. They need us. They need our love, our time, our effort, our talent, and our treasures. But they also have to have skin in the game. This is not an entitlement charity, McCabe Avenue and Nancy Lieberman Charities. You got to give us some community hours. You got to shadow police officers to learn what they do, or first responders. So we do have checks and balances, and we're building relationships.
Well, I'll tell you, we are so honored to be a part of it. And I think you can go to Nancy Lieberman. What's the website?
NancyLiebermanCharities.org.
To get information about that. Those involved with us, send out cards. We got the McCabe Avenue Foundation. We're going to be doing some fundraising and some different things. What you holding up there?
Tara sent me this card.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that beautiful?
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah,
it's
that's
gorgeous.
Wonderful.
You guys are amazing.
Well, thank you so much. And like I said, we're honored to be a part of it. And I want to make sure people get
this.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's a check going to you guys. So kind of how this works is we raise money here at McCabe Avenue Foundation, and we kind of gave our inaugural, if you will, contribution to the Nancy Lieberman Charities at our one of our big events. Our first contribution was $30,000, which is the first of many to come. And there's so many people that want to get involved in contribution on an ongoing basis, not only financially, but like you said, giving of your time. And to me, that's what's important. What I'd say to all of our folks involved with Send Out Cards or Sendogo or any of the companies that I own who are part of the McCabe Avenue Foundation, it's not just funds. Funds are great, but your talent's better. Your gifts, your time is better. And that's what these kids need is they need your time. They need your love. They need your commitment. And Nancy, you're such a great example of that. Like, to watch you in action is just inspiring. And we're excited, not only myself, but thousands of people are excited to jump on board and to work with these kids in the inner cities, build these courts, provide these scholarships, work with the law enforcement folks. We're just super excited about the whole thing. So I encourage you all that are listening, learn about the Nancy Lieberman Charities.org. Also your book, Playbook for Success. Where could they get a copy of that?
You can go online and get that, or you can actually email us at our office at NancyLiebermanCharities.org. Just let us know what you want, or they could just go through you, Whitney or somebody, and we can order it, and I'll autograph, I'll personalize them. I do want to thank Tara, because you know how the world works. When somebody who's kind and loving says, I think you should meet this person. And Tara is great friends with Ala Bardov, and I'm just eternally grateful to her for her passion for what we do. And then, the connection to you and to Emerald and to Whitney. So you guys have blessed us beyond understanding. We want to make you proud of what we do. We'll be announcing a Dream Ball. We're honoring Winona Judd.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
And her story, Kody, her daughter's incarcerated, selling drugs, 8 years in jail. This woman is amazing, rich, famous, and broken. And she texts me and she'll call me. We just met. We haven't physically met. She's like, she hashtag holy goosebumps. Thank you for what. And I'm like, oh my God, where did this come from? So you never know where God wants us to be. It's not a mistake that we're a part of your family now, or you're a part of ours. Like I said, I want to make you proud of what we're doing and how we're doing it. We want everybody from your companies and the charity to go, we're making a dent in this crazy world. We together, and we're only as good as the people shoulder to shoulder with us.
Right.
We want to be great philanthropists. We want to be great. We want to be great, in business and being successful. I want to win. I want to win championships.
Well, we're so excited to be a part of this with you. You are a winner, and we like to align ourselves with winners. We're winners too, and winners give back. And it becomes about giving back and mentoring and coaching and helping and inspiring. And that's what this is all about. And we want to make we want to make you proud, and we will. And it's going to be a great honor to work with you. All of our listeners, just jump in, get involved with it, with this stuff. Help us help these kids. I think that that's really important for all of us to do. It's going to make you better at whatever it is you do. It's going to make you a better salesperson. It's going to make you better in your marketing efforts. It's going to make you better, a better business person, a better husband or wife, a better significant other, a better parent. It's going to make you better in all facets of your life if you will offer your talents and your gifts and your finances to give back to our communities and our kids. What you send out in life is what comes back to you. And that's what this is all about. So Nancy, thank you so much for being on our show today. I know you're extremely busy. And once again, congratulations on the Hall of Fame. Super proud of you, super excited. Also, you're featured in the ESPN. I don't have a copy with me, but you're featured in the ESPN magazine. That's a pretty exciting thing.
Chris Paul, how about that?
Yeah, isn't that? So that's a super cool thing, a great thing. You want to get a copy of that as well. So you are an inspiration, and we're going to go do some great work together. Thank you, everybody, for being on our show. We appreciate you. We'll see you on another episode. We'll keep bringing them to you. Keep on tuning in. So we'll keep bringing you stuff like this today. We're all much better people after listening to Nancy today. So thanks for being with us, Nancy.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
If you have enjoyed this episode of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Kody B, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review so that together we can get this message, The Power of Human Connection, out to the world. You can find Kody's new book, The Power of Human Connection, on Amazon or the Send Out Cards gift store.